So that's the running order in terms of what's going on. You've got your agendas as well. So the first thing to say is just a bit of a pat on the back for us and a thanks to the people that voted for us. So we've actually got two kind of bits of recognition this year. There's this magazine that I don't know how many people read it, but it's a streaming media magazine. It's sort of an industry magazine. We were nominated as a finalist in the category of media management solution. Didn't win that one, unfortunately, but we were nominated as a finalist, and that was voted for by thousands of people, which was really nice. So it's kind of thanks to everyone that voted for us, and congratulations to the team here. And we actually won an award as well, which wasn't really that expected, being perfectly honest with you, but we won an award for the best multi-language solution. And there was, nominations for that, and there was, I'm told there was thousands of votes. And we're quite proud of that because we've been very proactive about putting lots of different languages into our software. And actually one of the things that came out of the user group 2012 or 2013, I think, no, it was 2012. The 2012 user group, the thing that actually came out of that was a feature request for Welsh language, which we put into our software. And we took on a lot of universities in Wales as a result of that. We're going to be adding to the languages. So down the bottom there, we've got Gaelic, Arabic, and French that we're going to be adding as well. So this first session is really a run-through of what went into version 3 of our software. So the feedback that I've had from user groups in the past is that a lot of people really appreciate us going through the current version of the software rather than the new version, which we will do later anyway, because there's a lot of things that people don't know are in our software or they'd like to know more about. So I'm going to run through all of the things that went into version 3, and I'm also going to run through all the things that went into version 3.1 as well. And like I say, the feedback that I've had from people is that this is a useful exercise to do. So first thing that we did, we now support in our software the upload from iOS devices. So if you go to your media library on an iPhone or an iPad, what happens is the website will render for that particular device. And then on an iPhone, we actually have a different upload form. So the upload form allows you to upload the file first, and then after that put the metadata in, because we thought that was a better order of doing things on a mobile device. The cool thing about this is you can select the content either by shooting it there and then, or you can choose an existing video that you have on your phone. This is kind of going into the realms of what I'm going to show, or actually Chris is going to show later, is that what we're finding is that our tool in the past or even today is used people uploading files that they've already created. But the kind of user-generated content phenomenon that's gone on over the last sort of 5 to 7 years, what we found is that people want to shoot this stuff on mobile devices. I mean, that's pretty obvious. But also from the context of recording on their desktop or their laptop as well. So in version 4, we're introducing webcam capture as well, so that you can do this type of thing from your desktop, both in terms of supplying students with feedback or even a lecturer doing sort of a mini lecture that people can respond to. All of this works within the kind of the Safari browser. And it's a pretty seamless process. Works on iPad as well. We've upped all of the qualities on our encoder. So the encoder is the thing that's converting the media from one format to the other. We work on the basis of kind of the lowest common denominator with all of our encoding profiles, and sometimes people say to us, oh, well, it doesn't look quite as good as it could, etc., etc. We kind of have to support lots of different devices because we've got customers in 20 or 30 different countries, and they don't all have oodles of bandwidth. So we upped everything to accommodate for that. And then also we've upped the HD encoding profile up to 3.5 megabits per second. So what this should mean is that you will just get better quality across the board when you're uploading content. And especially on the HD stuff, we did used to find that people would say to us, look, I uploaded this HD content, it really doesn't look HD quality. So we upped it to kind of match a sort of a YouTube bit rate, which is this 3.5 megabits per second. So everything's increased, so you should get better quality. For the people that have our TV recording bolt-on or software or whatever you want to call it, we have a bit, for the people that don't have it, we have an integration with a box, an appliance called the OneLAN Omni Server. The OneLAN Omni Server is an appliance that would sit in your data center and it has a TV aerial plugged into it. It records TV, so it's got its own EPG or electronic program guide that you go to. And it's like a kind of like having your own Sky Plus. You click to record the programs. It will record those programs and output them directly to your media library. So there's a lot of our customers that are here today that have that. So one of the things from a UK perspective that people were asking us for a lot was to put this ERA message on there, the Education Recording Authority. So they stipulate that you should have a kind of standard message on all of your recordings to say that the recording's been made for educational use. So we've put that on now so that when the video is recorded, it will always show the message at the start of the video. So you're compliant with that. Don't hold me to it because I'm not a lawyer, but from the bits and pieces we've read on their website and the conversations we've had to people, this is enough to be compliant with ERA. Big star next to it, I'm not a lawyer. And that displays in the first 5 seconds of the video playback. So this is actually kind of leads in fairly nicely to a presentation I'm doing later on scaling the solution. What we found is that people that have deployed the TV recording thing tend to have a big queue going on because these are very long, these are things that take a long time to encode because they're generally long form content and it takes a lot of kind of number crunching and encoding to get them down to the right size. So there's a presentation I'm doing later on scaling and I've already helped quite a few people out with this in terms of scaling the encoder so it does it quicker. So that's to come. It's just to kind of let you know that we've got a solution for that. As well, again, this is to do with compliance with this ERA thing. We include the metadata about the clip on the video playback page. So it's probably a little bit hard to make out there, but it just shows the broadcast start time, the broadcast channel, because that's another stipulation of ERA that you have to have on each recording, or you have to have it at least page that the recording's on. The other thing, and again, this was one that came out of the user group as well, radio recordings. I mean, it was a bit of an oversight in that the OneLAN Omni server did record radio, but we wouldn't ingest the radio recording. So now we do. And I found in particular with this, there's a lot of content that's on Radio 4 that is actually really high quality content that's used quite a lot in kind of economics and business courses, and people wanted to make that available. So that is available now. You can just click to record radio, and then it comes through in the same way with this kind of default thumbnail. A lot of media libraries that I've seen have kind of changed that thumbnail to be a kind of picture of Evan Davis or whoever was doing the particular program. We're not clever enough to kind of pick a name out of a media file and create a thumbnail for you, unfortunately. We'll get there. Private media areas. I mean, this is something that was demanded a great deal with our software. So up until version 3, we had always made content available on a group basis because we tied it into Active Directory so that when you logged into the media library, your user would be tied to a group and then the group would have access to certain content categories. So we're kind of migrating, not away from that, but we're now including more of a granular approach to authentication so that users are able to have their own personal category that they can upload to, and it doesn't have to be exposed to large groups of people. This is particularly relevant when we start talking about the LTI integrations with Moodle and Blackboard, and Chris will explain more about LTI later. But this was something that we really had to do so that people had their own area that they could put content in terms of uploading content to Blackboard and Moodle. These don't appear in the search results as it says there as well. And then another integration that we have with another bit of software that quite a few people at the last user group had. I mean, I'm not too sure on the attendees this year whether they've got this, but Camtasia Relay or TechSmith Relay is a bit of software that enables you to capture your desktop and your webcam. A lot of people will know the company TechSmith for the bit of software Camtasia Studio, which allows you to do that. TechSmith Relay, which is the product we're using, is by the same company, but it's just a cut-down version of that. So it's just sort of like an application that you boot up on your PC or your Mac, or even on your phone, actually. You click record, it records the whole experience, and then you click done, and then it uploads it to the media library. The point being that before, those relay recordings were going into a kind of catch-all place, and then there was an administrator that was then putting them in the relevant categories. Now, we put them into the user's personal category, so that when the user records something using their phone or their PC or their Mac, it goes into their personal category, and then they can then decide maybe to move it to another category or just to make that available in Blackboard and Moodle. So that's quite where I'm seeing usage of the Blackboard and Moodle plugins, is that people are rolling out this screen recording software. They're recording the stuff, and at the end of it, they're logging into Blackboard and Moodle, and they're seeing this experience here where they can make the content available and then clicking to select it. So as it says there, extremely useful for giving instructional feedback on student submissions. Version 3.1. This has only recently been released. I mean, we haven't really proactively rolled it out. So we're going to kind of proactively do that in the next month or so after Christmas time. But for people that have kind of had various issues or bugs, we've made this available to people on a kind of piecemeal basis. So first thing that we did was now you can disable or enable the associated files. So when you upload a bit of content, you can upload a PowerPoint or a JPEG or whatever you want that will appear alongside your media. What we were finding is this a lot of the time is just an unnecessary step. And actually when we show V4 a little bit later, the upload form is, the logic's been changed around it, because what we were finding was people just saying, well, there's just too many steps here, there's too much involved in this, and you know, people are getting lazier and don't have the attention span to do this sort of stuff. So we've now made it so that you don't necessarily have to have this associated files addition on. You could have it off if you wanted to. The other thing that we did as well was enabled the ability to have a language bar or not when you were uploading content, because we found out in certain courses that are taught, if you have the ability to switch languages, that's a very bad thing, because people are studying English and you shouldn't allow them to translate things into their native language. This is what we found out from one of our customers, that it was a very bad thing to do. So particularly in the back-end side within Blackboard and Moodle, although there's not a great deal there that can be translated, we're only talking about sort of toggling things from high to low quality and that sort of stuff. We've done it so that the language bar can be disabled. Also, we've made it a bit easier for administrators to search for particular people's content in the back end and locate users, etc. as well. The other thing we did, and this is quite a big change in terms of the Blackboard and Moodle integrations, is we found when we initially rolled out the plugin and the building block, that people were saying that it was a little bit disorientating for the people that had come to it the first time, and they were kind of saying, well, look, I'm being presented with this login screen or this screen that I can customize with some text to say, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And students and lecturers were just saying, look, I don't know which form to fill out, I don't know what to do. And you know, that's not their fault at the end of the day. So we've made it now so the process of actually registering to use the Blackboard or the Moodle tool is much, much easier for the end user, because we don't really want them filling out lots of forms and doing this just to use it, because at the end of the day, they've just clicked on a button in Moodle and Blackboard and they just want it to work. So we've changed it now so that when a user comes through, rather than immediately seeing a form to fill out, which most people don't like filling out, they would just be asked a question. Have you used the media library before? If they click yes, then they'll be prompted to log in, normally using their AD credentials, which they would do because they would know those already because they've already used the media library. If they click no, they'll just be auto-registered. There's no registration form to fill out. So for a student, they would just say, well, I've not used it before, no, and then they'll be auto-registered through the system, and we just scrape the details from Blackboard and Moodle from those systems, and we pre-populate them as a user. So from a student point of view, the tool is much easier to use. From someone that's used the media library before, they're just clicking yes, and then they're logging in using their existing media library credentials. So we've simplified the process, is the conclusion of that one. The other thing that we did in 3.1 as well, and if you want to upgrade to this, you can do, get in touch with support and we'll upgrade you to it, is we've made it so now if a user uploads content to the media library through Blackboard or Moodle, or even outside of that as well, and they want to kind of toggle between that content being private and public, they can do that. They can just click on this little padlock icon, and then it's either private or public. Because what we found is that people were uploading this stuff and then kind of logging into the media library as they would have done before, and then finding, oh, well, actually, it's not as secure as I want it to be. I'd actually like to secure that content right down, so they can do that. And it's actually private by default. So if somebody's uploaded content through Moodle or Blackboard, it will be private until they make it public, if they want to. So this is kind of relevant. I mean, I'm thinking of a use case here. I think Chris and I have had a conversation about this. It's kind of if somebody wanted to share a good bit of work that a student had done, they could open it up and make it public, and then they could maybe embed it or do whatever they want to with it. So there are some use cases there. We've definitely been asked for that. Just tools to tell you about while we're on the subject. Our kind of traditional way of logging support cases it's not going to change after Christmas, but it's going to evolve, I suppose, is the best way of putting it. So in the past, people would just email support@streaming.co.uk, which is totally fine to keep doing that. But one of the things that we're going to do is open up a support portal. We're launching a support portal. We already have that today. It's kind of in beta mode at the moment. But if you want to request an account, you can do. And it allows you to just log cases through that. That makes the process much more streamlined for us, actually, if you can do that. You can track your cases, and you can also access our knowledge base through that as well. So in the past, our knowledge base has been something that we've given out articles to people. So people will come to us and say, well, I don't know how to do this, or I don't know how to do that. And then we'll normally find the article and send it to people. Now we're going to kind of more go down the route of saying to you, look, it's all there. It's not that we don't want to support you. It's just that the information's there. You can have a look through it. There may be some useful articles in there. You know, there's things in there that aren't even about the media library, like how to do live streaming, for example, is an article that's in there as well. So it's well worth a look. So all that you need to do to request an account is just email support@streaming.co.uk, and that's it really. Just put account request or whatever you want to put, and we'll just set you up with it. We'll email you the username and password. The other thing, just to highlight to people, because a lot of people say they don't, a lot of people when they talk to me say they don't know about this, is, I mean, that's not really any fault of anyone here, it's just because we don't really publicise it that much. If you do want to request a feature, there is a form to request a feature as well. We do look at those, and actually when we come to do a plan for a new version, that's the first thing we always look through is I mean, there are a lot there, there's a lot there. It does take us half a day to go through them. But we will always look through those, and if there's good ones in there, we will always consider them. It's not, they're the best features, the ones that come from customers at the end of the day. And that's it on version 3 and 3.1. I'm going to get Chris to come up and talk about LTI now. Oh, is there any questions on that just before we move on? Have we got any questions? Have we got the mic? Have we got the mic? Sorry, Dave. Who's got the mic? Oh, is there? Oh, he's got his boom. Or health and safety. If anyone gets hit by the mic,
It's not my fault.
It's all Dave's fault. He's insured. There we go.
Okay, if a user's got a personal recording and they decide to hit the toggle to make it public,
Yeah.
does that mean public for anyone in the world or public for a category that they can choose which might require a university login?
Very good question.
It's actually public for anyone in the world. So the idea behind it is that you can actually email a link, distribute a link to that content, and then it will take the user to the playback page in the library. Thanks. So, and then they can, you know, whenever they like, they can just disable the access at their leisure.
Any other questions on version 3? Who's upgraded to version 3? I would think most people. Show of hands. Yeah, most people. Who's using the Blackboard or the Moodle plugin? Yeah, okay, great.
Let's go back to that question about it being private or public. Isn't there like some middle ground where you can share your recordings just to a small group of people?
Just to a small group.
Blackboard course, so that your recording is only available on that Blackboard course.
He did work for the BBC, by the way, so that is a proper way of doing it. I hope. You can. I mean, if you were in Blackboard and then you made it available just to people on that course, so you embedded it within that course, that's then secured for the people in that course, as in within Blackboard.
Okay.
If somebody then embedded that content elsewhere, so they were clever enough to kind of get into Blackboard and go to the source of it and then embed it somewhere else, it wouldn't work. So
a student on that course could potentially do that.
a student could, but it wouldn't work, because the way it's secured is it's only going to work if you're logged in. That's it.
So you can contain the recording just to the Blackboard course and users.
Well, it's not strictly to the Blackboard course, it's to Blackboard, but
Yeah.
by virtue of the fact that the student can get to that page, it's secured, because if another student came in on another course,
Yeah.
they're not going to be able to even get to that course.
Right.
So it's secured in that way. So it's sort of, it's for the whole of Blackboard, but then the sort of the Blackboard structure of, well, I'm Rob, I'm not on a chemistry course, I can't even get to that course to do it, so I wouldn't be able to get to that page.
Okay.
We don't have any link up. We don't have a link up between a course ID and a category. It's just it's available in Blackboard. If somebody can get to it in Blackboard, they'll be able to play it. If they got the embed code from Blackboard and put it somewhere else, it wouldn't work. No. Because we tinkered with the idea of doing something where we were tying course IDs to groups and all that kind of stuff. And when we were speccing the feature out, we were going down that route, but it just got way too complicated because you just had too many things going on. So in the end, we settled for this LTI way of doing it that Chris will talk a bit more about, learning tools in interoperability, that just provides you with that kind of bridging technology between the two. And then we're just saying, okay, this user, we've got a group in the media library, we'll secure content in that way to a group, so we'll let them upload to certain categories once they're in. But then the way the content's secured is just assuming you're logged into Blackboard or you're logged into Moodle. There's no connect between courses and groups at all. But if you're in Blackboard, I mean, I'm probably stealing Chris's thunder a bit here. I mean, I think the audio is fine, mate.
Yeah.
It's pretty loud, that. If you're in Blackboard, then you will have access to certain content categories if you go and search, but that will be by virtue of your group membership in Media Library.
It's a variation on the theme of those two questions, really.
Yeah.
So what you were saying about it making it easier to toggle between public and private,
Yeah.
I think what we're asking is whether there's a risk that overrides the thinking that's gone into the public-private status of different categories.
Yeah.
So you're saying that it doesn't override it if you're talking about the way that you got it linked through LTI, but in terms of what someone's doing inside a category using the portal side of things, could they override some settings that you set for that category by doing the public-private toggling?
They're only overriding it if it's a personal
Yeah,
category. aren't
yeah.
they?
That's only applies. That padlock only applies for content that resides within a user's personal category. So not generic sort of other categories in the media library.
Is that true of one particular video as opposed to that everything in their personal category? It's only one video.
Item by item,
Item by
asset
item,
by
yeah.
asset, yeah, yeah.
Another quick question. You mentioned encoder enhancements. Is that true of existing content, or would we need to go back and re-upload?
You'd have to go back, but yeah.
Thank you.
Anything since version 3 it would apply. Cool.
No more? Okay. Set up, mate. We'll just,
To use this, can I use a mouse?